Yo, what's up guys? This is another one of my, this is my third tutorial video. Haven't done this in a while. Today I'm gonna be showing you how to build, and next video I will show you how to script. Because I want to show y'all how to build better, so that way you won't have to. I'm not even trying to be rude, because yeah, I use free models sometimes, but I just don't use them all the time. So I want to show you guys how to build, and you already know the basics, but I'm going to already start out with that. So first thing you want to do is you're going to click on, if you want to go up to here, press on home. If you're already there, then don't. Then click on part. This will insert a part into your workspace. And now what you want to do is you want to click on, well, you don't have to all the time, but these are called properties. And this has the properties such as what color it is. So for example, I could change it to red, or I could change it to blue. And you have cast shadow, and that property shows if it casts a shadow on the surface. So if you don't want it casting shadows, then put that off. If you want it to cast shadow, then put it on. And now after that, sorry for my mouse being on the loading, but just ignore that. But you also have the material. Now this property will be important for like lights and other type of things. And I don't really use plastic, but I do sometimes. So there's many different materials you can choose from. Let's say you could have brick for like a house, or you could even have diamond plate, which is the material below me, and that's for like facilities or other type of things. You have force field. This allows you to see through things. There's another property that can do that. However, force field, if you try to look through it, it won't let you. It'll keep it right here. And I'll explain the other property later. So I'm going to just switch it back to, I'm just going to switch it to glass because it looks pretty cool in my opinion. Property reflectance. It doesn't really reflect the part, but it kind of shows what this looks like. So if you had it at 1, it would completely show the sky and the sun and everything else. See, look, if I were to, oh no, I'll have to explain that later. And I'm just going to put this back so you guys can see this. And here's the property I was talking about earlier. It is called transparency. Now this property is similar to making it force field, except it won't have except it's not really force field. So here's what it does. If you haven't known what transparency means already, once you scroll this up, it makes it more see-through. So if I were to make this to, let's say, if I were to change this to 1, you could not see the part at all. I use this a lot for things like lasers and all that type of stuff. Ignore that because that's going to be for a future video. Now I'll show you how to, sometime I'll show you how to make this, or how to make these, or anything. But I do use transparent parts for this, and the way I make them shoot out is I use tween surface, because this is what tween surface does. It makes your part do this without you having to scroll it. That's for scripting, and that's for another video. Now, this right here is the data. Center of mass and class name and mass, you don't really have to worry about that. Unless if you want to be really, really specific, but you don't really have to worry about that because they're not really important. Now, the name. There's two different ways you can edit the name. You can come up here and edit it to what you want to name it. So I'd recommend click backspace, or else it'd go part, area, or whatever you want to put. So I'd recommend put backspace before you rename your part. And now I'll just say thing, because that's a thing in the workspace. Now it also changes it down here. And this is another way you can edit the name of the part. So if I were to put 07 here, or 08, whatever, it would also change it up there. So those are two different ways you can edit the name of that part. So keep that in mind, because that'll be important for specifying and scripting. This is going to be like a pre-video to scripting. Now, orientation. This also goes with rotation, if you don't know what orientation means. So if I were to put 1, 1, 1, it would rotate it by X, Y, Z. So if you don't know what that is, that's a type of property, and it also shows you right here, the X, Y, Z property. You probably have heard of the XY property, or the XYZ, so you probably already know that. But so if I were to put 11, 11, 11, it would use XYZ to make it this. I'm going to hit undo. That undoes your stuff. And now this is the easier way instead of doing orientation. So now you click on now you go up here and you click rotate. And this right here allows you to rotate your part. So this right here, and you can just look right here. This is the y-axis, this is the z-axis, and this is the xy-axis. So now what you want to do is to rotate a part, you click on this and hold it. You can turn it however you want. You can do this however you want. You can even do this. And many other things. Here's something important. If you want to change how much your part rotates by how many studs or how many degrees, go up here to model, go down to here where it says rotate and move. Now I'm gonna put rotate at 0 because that means I can freely rotate it however I wish. So that way now I can go. But changing this is frequent in building, because for example, if you had it at 15 and you wanted to make a little circle, and there's different ways to make a circle, but I'm gonna show it like this now. So I'm gonna make it nice and big so you guys can see. I want to move, and you can also choose how many studs you want it to be apart from each other. So I'm going to make this 200 studs. I'm going to duplicate that, put Control D, and move this. And it should move it 200 studs away from the other part. Now you want to press hold Shift and then press the other part. This will select both of them. And now you want to duplicate that and rotate it. See, look, it'll now rotate it by 15 degrees. You can also freely edit this if you want. Ignore that. But you can freely edit it the way you want it to be. Hold on. Wow. Alright, let's try this again. You can edit it any way you want. So if I were to I'm just going to make a nice, good, cool circle here. So you just keep on doing that. Also keep in mind, the less your rotating degrees, the bigger the circle. So here's what it looks like. But if I were to go over here and put it to 5 degrees, here's what it would do. it also shows how many studs it'll go by. So now I would have like one right here, and all of that. So let's just go all the way back. There we go. And now what's gonna happen is that now you could, and pretty much you know the basics, but there's a few more things. Anchored. Oh wait. This also controls if it falls down from the sky or not. Let me just raise this up 200 studs, because why not? So if I were to run the game right now, I know I'm just gonna anchor it right now. So if I were to run the game, and if it's anchored, it's gonna stay in that position, and that stuff that just fell right there are unanchored. I might need to anchor those, but if it's anchored, it'll stay in this place, and if it's not anchored, it will fall to the ground. So if it was even unanchored and I decided to move it back up, it won't just immediately anchor. It's gonna fall back down. So guys, keep that in mind, because that is very, very important. So now what you want to do, so I'm going to teach you resizing. Let me just edit this real quick. I don't want it going 200 studs every time. Okay. Oh, oops. That's for a different one. So now what you want to do is go up here, click scale. That's what I use to make it bigger. So hold one of these. This also uses XYZ, and you can move it the way you want it to go. You can make it one stud brick, a really big, a really small one stud brick, to where you can't even see it. I even forgot where it is. Oh, oops. Hold on. Yeah, you can make it this small to where it looks like that. And that's a one stud right there. That's one stud. Now, you can move all this up. You can do this. You can resize it however you want. Now, I'm sorry that I'm saying now a lot. Here's the move. There's two different ways you can move the part. You can select it and move it around by dragging it around with your mouse. Kind of like this. And moving it, which is a specific type of movement. And you can move it down like that. And there's some properties that go with moving. So here's the thing. So if I had constraints on, I could not move this part because there's no constraints with this part. So here's what would happen. If you were ever getting stuck and you try to move it and it won't move, you try to resize it, but it will resize. You try to rotate it, but it won't rotate. Then go up here, turn off constraints, and there you go. And these kind of are restrictions, well, except this one. This one are basically restrictions to the part. Collisions, they don't allow you to have two different parts with each other. So if I had them on, it would immediately just put it above you because it doesn't want you. And look, it'll move, but if I try to move it into the part, it won't let me. So if I turn this off, stop going into scripts before I close all of these, because these are for later. So now if it's off and I try to move it into the part, it'll move it in. And also be aware, if you have it at a different color, it'll glitch out like that. And you don't want it like that, right? So here's how to fix it. You make a few different sides bigger than the part that you have it to already. So make it all slightly bigger to where it's like that. And I'll also even teach you negative parts. You know what? I'm actually going to do that now. So if you want it to be like a little window to see the blue brick, you can duplicate that part and size it to how big you want the window. So for this video, I'm going to make it about, let's see, this big. Now, I'm going to move this in a bit because I need to. Now that it's in, go up here to where it says, click on model and click on negate. That will make it a negative part. Basically what these are is they can put holes in a part. It's definitely what it sounds like. Now, once you select both of these parts, so the second part that you select is what the negative part is going to put a hole in. So now if I click union, look, there's a little hole. However, it's not big enough. So here's how to fix that. You can either click just undo and just go back to where the part was not negative, and then move it back a little more. Then negate it, grab this and union, and there we go, we have a window. And now what you can do is you can grab the blue part inside of it, and now you can union that. And there you go. Now you have a nice little window. And here's the thing, if you're trying to resize a union, it's gonna do it differently than what you have with a normal part. It's gonna resize all of it at once in the direction you want it to go. Also, here's another thing. You can size it back down and it'll do the same thing I just said. It'll resize all of it at once. And there's usually about a limit to resizing. And that's about 1 stud, I think. Yep, that's 1 stud. You can barely see it, but it's there. And now you can size it back up, see it again, make it as big as you want. You can make it super big, but there's also a limit to that. It's about this big, bigger than a base plate, probably on a base plate right now. The reason why this place doesn't have a base plate is because this place doesn't need one. We all started out on base plates. That's what I love to start out on, because you actually get to build on something, which is your base plate. And once you finish building on that base plate, then you can remove it. And here's how I do that. So open another studio window. Should be opening up any moment. There you go. Now that I don't know if you can see it, but once you go on a base plate, you can just look through the workspace to find a part called base plate. And the reason why you can't select it is because it is locked. The way to unlock it is you can click on model, never mind, not model, on home, not even on home, hold on. Yeah, it's on mod. Where did it go? Hold on. There it is. So it's in home, and you go over here to where it says lock. So if you go onto the base plate, it has a lock on it that says pull with an up arrow. That means it's locked, and if you press it, it's going to unlock. So now that it's unlocked, you can click on the lock again because that'll deselect it. And look, now you can select the base plate. And look, if it's locked, and there's another way to lock it. You can just do that. Look, it won't let me select it anymore. And if it's unlocked, look, I can select it. Also, there's something with base plates called surface inputs. And sorry if you couldn't see any of that because I'm using a certain type of recorder. There's something over here called surface inputs. These are pretty important because you can have it to where any surface you want it to be. Let me see. So here's one thing on doing that. You go on to let me find it. So I don't really mess with these because I just usually mess with material, but you can if you want. It's all up to you. I think you have to turn this on. Nope, you're not supposed to. Hold on. Lol. Well, let me see. Oh, also, here's another thing with building. It's called, no, I'll just do the surface inputs later. It's also something called particle emitters. And these are pretty important because you can make things come out of it. And I can change the emission directions: front, bottom, back, left, right, back. You can change it to whatever you want. I personally have it on top the most because it just looks the best that way. And if it doesn't always go the way you want it to, then just look up here to where it shows your thing where it says front, left, back, and put wherever you're wanting it to go. Look at it from that perspective. So if it was at top, I would click on top. Like that. And there you go. Oh, oops, did I turn off my Explorer? Oh no, I just put it in a different way. Oh, I hate doing this. That should work. Yeah, there we go. Wait, it's backwards. Let me try this again. There we go. So now what you want to do is, you can also edit that to whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be like the thing I didn't want it to be, to where you can have it, well, well, that just makes it the Explorer. But you can put it, you can edit it to however you want. I like having mine up here because that's what I started out having it. But whatever you want it to be, you can have it that way. So now, there's different ways you can use particle emitters. Like size. So if I were to have it at 999, look how big that would be. But look, it wouldn't move at all. Here's how to fix that. You go down to where it says speed. That shows how much it goes. So if I were to put it at 100, it would go up by 100 speed. I could also use rotation, and that would show how it would rotate, rotation speed, and that'll show how much speed it rotates. The spread angle. So if I were to put this at 99.99, it would go everywhere. And that's would be something for like explosions or anything really. You can have disabled or disabled. Enabled, disabled. Velocity inheritance. You don't really have to worry about that, but you can have it whatever you want. Drag, probably already know what that means. Acceleration, believe it uses XYZ, I don't know. I've never really messed with this. Z offset, you don't really have to worry about that, but it doesn't really do much to anything. Light emission, this will show how much light emits from the particle, so I can make it like that. Light influence, if you turn it down to 0, for example, wouldn't really do anything because light emission's so big, but if you turn up your light influence, makes it darker, like that. I know this kind of looks like your car wash spinning, those spinning cleaners that just spin on your car window. But yeah, that's pretty much it on particle emitters. Here's something important for. Oh wait, hold on. Let me put that back so I know where the part is. So if I go down here again, move that. Alright. So here's another thing. There's also something, this is for buttons mostly. There's two different ways you can do this. There's click detectors, which allows, and if I click play here and I go inside the game, by going inside of there, you will have a functioning button, except it doesn't really function because it's not scripted. And I'll show you how in another video. So now what you want to do is now you can have this, but it won't do anything because it obviously isn't scripted, as I said. And here's the other way. It's called proximity prompts. I've never even tried to script it, so I probably won't mention this in the next video. But what this is you can have the action text. I'll say, for example, I'll say press, since this would be a button. And I haven't really messed with this. You can edit what you have to press to. I'll put D, because why not? Hold duration. This shows how long you have to hold it. So I'm gonna put 3 seconds just to show you guys. Max activation distance. This also goes with click detectors. That shows how far away you can. That shows the maximum. That shows how far you can be to press that button. I don't know why it took me a second to think that, but I'll have it at 32 because that's what it is for click detectors. Style, you can edit the style to what you want it to be. I would recommend default because that's just how it is. But if you were to put it at custom, you would have something called the UI offset. And wait, no, never mind. But I'd recommend having it at default. But now what would happen is that if you were to click play here, it would take a second to load, because loading in. Of course, this would pop up, because this is, you've probably seen this in other games before, but sorry it made me do that, but the more you hold D, and there you go, press the button. It's normally on E, so I'd recommend have it on E, but another way you can do is just hold it, so you don't have to press D. But that's how proximity prompts work. I probably won't mention it until like a later scripting video, because I'm not really good at those yet, so I'll have to look up how to do them. But let me see. Let me see. Oh, I forgot. There's other types of parts, such as spear. I don't really use these because I just use parts to make these. But you can make spears. You can make cylinders. And it's the same way with rotating and everything. So if I had it like that, so I can make a few bars or something. Oh, there's even wedges. Now what these are, is they can do certain types of things, such as if I were to rotate this by 180 degrees and move it back. Now you kind of have a little tent, kind of, in a way. And that's what wedges can do. And you can also union them together, or group them. Grouping is similar to unioning, except unioning is, let's say I were to duplicate these, grab these and union it. The difference between grouping and union is that union puts two or more different things into one. What grouping does is it puts it into a model, you can also name it, and it will have those two parts inside of it. Here's another thing. It's called folders. Now what these are is that, let me type in folder. There we go. Now if I were to put these two parts in a folder, look, if I were to click on these, it would have them both selected already. And that's what I would use for certain types of things. It doesn't really matter if you use folder or model, because I use folders for audios and stuff. But there you go, and that's about it for unions and models. You know what, I'll actually do all that how to build stuff in different videos, so that way I can show you guys how. Because those would take a little while, because that warhead took me about, let's say about 15 to 20 minutes to build, so I'll show you that later. Thank you for watching this video. You know what, actually no, I haven't finished yet. Let me do one more thing. So now, here's another thing. There's something called point lights. And these emit a light. You can also change what they look like, such as brightness. You can make it really bright. Range. You can make it really range. And shadows. What these do is if you were to put something in the way of that light. So if I were to do this, put it in the way, see, look what that does. It puts two different shadows on those two lights. And I put them really bright so that way you guys could see it good. So if I were to have it like this, look what it does now. Now it has that. If I grab all 4 of these, move them like that, look at that. You have some cool little thing with a whole bunch of shadows. I'm gonna remove all of these now because I'm sure these hurt your eyes, but yeah, that's about point lights. There's different types of lights I'll explain in a future video. There's another thing called effects. These are similar to particle emitters. And there's sparkles. Looks like the one in a particle emitter, right? There's also surface light, spotlight. Those are the other types of point lights that I was going to explain. Smoke. These are what I use for like pipe burstings and other types of stuff. You can change how opaque it is, and that pretty much changes how much you can see through. So if you had it at 1, then you can really see through it at all. But if you had it at 0, you can see smoke at all. If you had it at 0.5, you could kind of see through it, and that's the default. Rise velocity. These show how much it rises. So if I had it at 25, it would rise pretty quickly. And if I were to make the opaque, if I made it 1, you could pretty much see it. You can edit the color of it, the size of it. So if I were to make it 100, won't you look at that? You have a little smoke monster. But that's about it for this video, for real this time. I'll explain more in the future. And thank you for watching. And I will see you in the next video. And this will be in a series I will call How To. And thank you guys for watching. And I will see you guys in the next video on how to script. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.